it, so eventually be able to listen to it later, and I'll figure out how to post it on the on our website. And and so what I'd like to do this evening, rather than go through and talk for any extended period of time, I want to start with some questions. And I have a couple of questions that were emailed to me. Oh, by the way, if you have any questions that didn't get answered tonight, and there surely already I have an overwhelming number of vaccines. I want to questions. I want to thank you very much. You can email me at mayor, M-A-Y-E-R, at homefirst.com. That's mayor, M-A-Y-E-R, at homefirst.com, and I will surely, hopefully, try to answer some of the questions. Let me look at two of the questions that were emailed to me. Hi, Dr. Eisenstein. My children have had baby shots before I knew the risks. I haven't vaccinated them in 10 years. Don't plan to give them any more. Our school system is surprisingly fine with it. I am a little uneasy, however, about not giving my children a tetanus shot. What is your opinion of this shot? They would have to get a DT, that's a diphtheria and tetanus vaccine, since tetanus doesn't come alone. Thanks for your help, Katie. Well, Katie, I can tell you that I've got trouble with the tetanus vaccine, and here's my problem. I haven't seen a case of tetanus in 35 years. We've serviced, we've taken care, between me and my partner, more than 35,000 children. The majority of them have never had a tetanus shot in their life. Well, that doesn't mean that the tetanus shot does work or doesn't work, but I want to look back to the Amish. The Amish do not vaccinate their children. And, I was taught in medical school, like so many other people's in medical school, nursing school, veterinary school, that tetanus comes from rusty nails in the fields. Well, the Amish work with primitive tools, and, I don't see any incidents of tetanus among them. That's one of the things, is to make up a theory of how something works, but the reality is you've got to show that it's made a difference, and that's one of the problems. Tetanus is a very, very bad disease. The only way I know the answer to tetanus is because I studied in the books, but surely not because it's something I've seen in my clinical practice. Let me take one more question, then I'm going to go straight to our audience. I just, let's see, we went to one of your in-person seminars a couple of years ago. We chose not to vaccinate. Now that, as responsible parents, what is our course of action? Do we just hope and pray that our children don't get these diseases? Do you recommend testing for immunity and then vaccinating? Are there certain vaccines that are safer than others? It's really, really good question. This is the fear factor. The fear factor is, if you don't vaccinate, your children will come down with these diseases. You know what the answer is? Maybe. But there's also a fear factor that's growing in this country, and that is the incidence of neurological problems, including autism, ADD, ADHD, asthma, bronchitis, and chronic illness, have quadrupled, more than quadrupled. They've gone out of control. When I first started in practice, a neurological disease in children was maybe 1 in 10,000 children. Today, it's less than 1 in 50, and I include in that autism, ADD, ADHD. This is a frightening type of statistic, And is it related to vaccines? Well, I put together a couple of slides, and let me see if I can find them. Am I going backwards here? No, I'm not going backwards. Okay, let me try to go backwards here. Or let me try to go to the beginning. Maybe that'll be easier. I go to the beginning, and I'm going to show you a couple of slides. Okay, this is one that was just recently in the Journal of Toxicology and Environmental Chemistry, September 2008, and it found that this study found statistically significant evidence to suggest that boys in the United States were vaccinated with triple series hepatitis B vaccine during the time period in which vaccines were manufactured with thimerosal were more susceptible to developmental disability than were unvaccinated boys. These are frightening things, and if anyone thinks that vaccines, that the toxins have been taken out of the vaccines, You've got a long way to go. Illinois is a mercury-free state since 2006, but every 6 months the governor's been able to sign a waiver allowing the vaccine companies to manufacture vaccines with mercury, and you still find mercury in the flu vaccine. And interesting enough, if you even the vaccines that allegedly have no mercury have trace amounts of mercury, and trace amounts is still a toxic effect. I'm looking for my book, Don't Vaccinate Before You Educate, and I've got right in the beginning of the book a couple of a listing of some of the ingredients that are still in the vaccines. Even let's assume that they took the mercury out. Ethylene glycol, antifreeze. I suppose that therefore the vaccines won't freeze in the bad in cold weather. Phenol, also known as carbolic acid. This is used as a disinfectant dye. Formaldehyde, a known cancer-causing agent. Aluminum, which has been associated with Alzheimer's disease. Thimerosal, that's the mercury derivative that allegedly has been taken out but still is in some of the vaccines, including the flu vaccine, which, sad to say, is still given to many women during pregnancy. Neomycin, streptomycin, antibiotics, which have caused allergic reactions to people. This is just some of the adjuncts that are in vaccines. I'm asked very frequently, Dr. Einstein, if we took all the adjuncts out of vaccines, would that resolve the problem? You know what my answer is? Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. But I can tell you that there's most probably way more problems beyond the additives in the vaccines. Why are they put in there? I really don't know. But I can tell you what caused me to become massively skeptical about vaccines. And that is when they started giving the hepatitis B vaccine. Hepatitis B is a sexually transmitted disease. The idea of giving it to a one-day-old baby made absolutely no sense to me. Literally no sense. I called Merck, the company that made it, and asked them, what data do you have that we can give hepatitis B to one-day-old babies? You know what their answer was? There is no research for children under 5 years of age. Frightening. But even more, why are we mandating, and that's the elemental or key word, mandating vaccines for sexually transmitted disease to our children? See, I could see mandating polio vaccine. I could see it. I don't agree with it because you can contract polio from someone else even if you do nothing, just happen to be in the same room, theoretically. But you can't get hepatitis B from someone unless you share dirty needles or you have a blood transfusion that's the blood is infected with hepatitis B, or the most prevalent way is you have sexual relations with someone with hepatitis B. How can we mandate morality to our children? This is absolutely preposterous, you know. Let me start asking some questions, or I don't want to ask questions. Let me take some questions. Why don't you raise your hand or hit the little icon to raise your hand. I'll call on some of you to be able to ask some of your questions. And you can type your questions in. I'll try to get to that. But if anyone has a question, how about we go to John? Let's see if we can. You got to pull it over. There you go. Hi, John. Good evening, and thank you for asking a question. Are you with us, John? All right. Let's try somebody else who's raising their hand. Why'd you mute John and hit the hand symbol? I think up at the top there. I think it brings all the hands to the top. Oh, all right, there we go. Okay, Margaret. Hi, Margaret.
Hi.
Hi. Go ahead, ask us your question, please.
My daughters have not been vaccinated, and I know that whenever you get pregnant, one of the routine tests that they do is to test for rubella immunity.
Yes.
So I wonder if rubella is so dangerous for pregnant women, is that something that my daughters should have before they get married?
Very, very good question. Well, you know, rubella was, for about 5 years, I want everyone to know that vaccine law is all by state. It's state law. It's not, do me a favor, turn down your speaker a little bit or so. I'm not sure how that works. You know, I think we're getting a little bit of feedback. All vaccine laws are by state, which means that if you live in one state, there could be different laws in the other, although very rapidly they're all becoming the same. For a while in Illinois and in most states, they mandated rubella vaccine before you got married. To get a marriage license, you have to show immunity to rubella. They rapidly dropped that because they realized that they would be partially responsible for the side effects of the rubella vaccine, and the rubella vaccine has been shown to cause not only neurological damage, but it's also been shown to form a form of severe arthritis, which many times doesn't leave. The other problem is that the rubella vaccine was grown on the cells of aborted fetuses, and that brings into real problem anyone who takes a strong pro-life position of injecting something into themselves or their children that was grown on the cells of aborted fetuses. I think it's like everything else. Rubella is clearly a potential serious problem during pregnancy. I don't think there's any question about it. How serious? Well, I haven't seen one case in 35 years of congenital rubella syndrome in a newborn. That doesn't mean it can't happen, but can you imagine if we gave 15,000 rubella vaccines to pregnant women or to women before they were pregnant? You have to start balancing the risk versus the benefit, and that's one of the whole issues with the vaccine issue. No one is balancing the risk versus the benefit. They're telling you have all these benefits, there's no problems, don't worry about it, there's no risk. Well, when I hear something like that, I know someone's trying to pull the wool over our eyes. It doesn't mean that the risks will outweigh the benefits, but let's have an honest discussion about this and an honest forum to see what are the risks, but not just saying there are no risks, which we know aren't true. So the answer is hard to know. Let's go back to the phone. Let's go to Tiana. Good evening, and thank you for calling. Tiana, are you with us? Okay. Oh, there we go. If rumors are all true about mandatory vaccinations, how can they constitutionally take away the right to religious exemption? Extremely good question. Well, so far, only 2 states, and let me go to those states. Let's see if I can go to those states. This is available on my website also, if I find it. There we go. If you take a look at this map, what this map shows you is the different legal waivers that you have with vaccines. And if you take a look, the best states to live in are the green states. That's like Texas, Oklahoma, California, Oregon, Washington, all these green states. Those states, all you have to do is say, I object to vaccines. Don't have to do anything more. Then you've got the states which are in fuchsia. It's my daughter Alicia is giving me the color here, and these states will allow allow a religious exemption, and you can see Illinois, Indiana, Iowa. And then there's the 2 states, West Virginia and Mississippi, which will only allow a medical exemption. Now, I can tell you a medical exemption will not work, because if you claim a medical exemption, what's going to happen is that they have a right to send you to another doctor. We're talking about you hand in a medical exemption from your doctor to the school board in any one of the states. They have a right then to send you to another doctor. Therefore, the ultimate states to live in as far as vaccine goes are the green states. The fuchsia states are better. Those 2 states create a problem. Your question is good. How could they violate the First Amendment? You know, the First Amendment right is you have a right to religious freedom. And interesting, the state laws for virtually every state with regard to vaccine allows 2 ways to have a legal waiver. Number one, well, there's actually 3 ways. The green states have also the personal exemption, which means I don't believe in vaccines. But the other 2 ways are the medical exemption by a doctor says you have a medical condition, and the other one is if you have a religious exemption. The religious exemption has 2 components. Component 1 is if you're a Christian scientist, if you practice that religion. If you practice a religion as an Amish, those religions will allow you to just hand in that I'm a member of the church, of a Christian Science church or Amish. That's a legal waiver in 48 states. The other component is if it's your personal religious belief, personal, it's something